Welcome everyone!
I'm Jennifer,
I'm Jessica, and you're listening to The Way, the Truth, and the Lies.
where we talk about our personal experiences with spirituality and faith.
Today we want to talk about black and white thinking.
What do we even mean by black and white thinking? It's when people believe that there is a very clear right and wrong, like a very clear good and bad, truth and lie. In Christianity, also from God or from the devil, or from God or from the world. And the world will often be like all the philosophies and beliefs that aren't based in the Bible and aren't supported by what the church is currently saying.
Exactly, yeah.
So when I say like based in the Bible, I don't really see churches necessarily really taking the Bible word for word, even though they say that they do. Every single church interprets the Bible in a different way, but they will still say, no, this is based in the Bible, this isn't based in the Bible. And so the world is sometimes the same as the devil or also the enemy. And each church has their own little versions. Basically, what the church is currently believing, saying, that is the good, the truth. What's very specific about this is that there's no gray area and no nuances.
Yeah.
Everything has a clear answer.
Yeah.
So if I'm asking myself, like, is what this person did or is what I did right or wrong, there's a clear, yes, it was wrong. Yes, it was right. Like, there is no, well, we have to look at this, in a nuanced perspective. Like, maybe you thought you were doing the right thing, so it's really not that bad. Or I don't know, like how you can give people a lot of grace when you have a nuanced way of seeing things, or when you also see like some moral questions aren't that easy to answer, honestly. But for the evangelical Christians we've been in contact with, and also the way that we used to be, it was very much like, no, there is a clear answer. Why is that? Because God has all the answers. And so even if I personally don't know right now if this is good or bad, in the end, God knows.
Exactly.
And he's the one who ultimately decides.
In these cases of I don't know what's right and wrong, only God knows, the Bible is supposed to help you decide. So again, you're not supposed to think for yourself, but ultimately God decides. And what's the closest thing you have to God's word? The Bible. So people so often, that's why conservative Christians so often run to the Bible for answers on morally complex questions. The issue, of course, is that this book is not the newest edition. The youngest texts are 2,000 years old, the youngest texts, right? And so whatever was written for a society that doesn't exist anymore. But conservative Christians still hold to views and good and bad from a society or from rules and morals from 2,000 years ago, at the youngest, mind you.
The reasoning is, even if times change, God doesn't.
Exactly.
Like, he stays the same. And also, I think the thing with like the truth, like there is a clear truth, which is Jesus and, everything that the Bible says. So like the whole gospel is the truth that will set everybody free. So how Jesus came to the earth to die for our sins and that is the truth. And I also remember having conversations with like more agnostic people when I was a Christian who were like, well, maybe there is no such thing as a clear truth. And I was just like, what are you even saying? That makes no sense.
How dare you?
Something has to be true.
Yeah.
And so, I'm still struggling to understand the thought of like, well, maybe multiple things can be true about the universe. I don't know, like I'm still not really vibing with that. But at the same time, like there is no tolerance for those kind of thoughts. It's just like, no, you don't understand. This is the truth and you have to accept it too.
I think the most aggravating sentence for me back then was when I was talking with a person from a different faith, like someone from Islam or Hinduism or someone who was Buddhist, and the quintessential bottom line they got to was, well, in the end, we all believe in the same thing. I used to get so mad at that statement because I was like, no, we don't, because my God is like that and your God is like that and blah, blah, blah. Because it was so instilled into me that there's only this one truth and all the other beliefs were lies.
Fabricated by the devil.
Exactly. We're like half-truths. They taught us in DTS, like, you can recognize the devil by his half-truths. He takes, like, basically 2 truths and a lie, or like 2 lies and 1 truth. There's like some truth in, I don't know, Islam, you know, some parallels to Christianity, but then the rest, which I don't know because I'm not from the Muslim faith, but you know, like, the rest is all lies and blah blah blah. So I remember being so angry at that statement, and nowadays I'm a person saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, same. But so the consequences of this type of thinking is that you will be in constant judgment of everything and everyone.
Yeah.
To see, like, okay, is this based on the biblical truth? Is this a good or a bad thing? Is what that person did right now good? And then you will also have a lot of times Christians calling each other out and being like, hey, what you did was not the will of God, or I don't know, like there's a lot of controlling each other also. A lot of times, now this isn't the case everywhere, but there will also be rejection of movies and books and songs and just pop culture, I guess, where it's like, no, that's worldly. We have to only listen to Christian music. You're judging yourself a lot. So there's a lot of guilt tripping yourself for not meeting the standards of this perceived good that you're supposed to be. You're, like we said, also judging others. You will judge members of the church for not being good enough Christians. You will judge non-Christians for not realizing the truth. There is this objective truth, which is God. Only Christianity is true, and non-Christians are walking in darkness.
They're blind. So what Bible verses actually support black and white thinking? We picked out a few. The first one we want to look at is John 14, verse 6. Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. As you might have guessed, this is of course the verse our blasphemous podcast title is referring to. So yeah, if that doesn't scream black and white thinking, then we don't know what else does. There's one truth, one objective truth, and then there's one way, Jesus. And if you don't believe in Jesus, you can't get to the Father, which means you inevitably end up in hell. It's very clear.
This is really the one that's also saying, like, if you don't believe in Jesus, then you go to hell. That's why we have to evangelize. You know, we have to save people.
Yep.
It's really one that I know it scared me a lot when I was a Christian for my non-Christian friends or family members. I was like, there is no way to the Father except through Jesus.
Yes, you have to believe in him.
Oh my gosh, I have to somehow convince them to follow Jesus.
And it also puts so much pressure on you as the friend, because you're like, oh no, but I have to evangelize them. I have to.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's over. It's game over. For
them. And you care about them and you don't want them ending up in hell. So
yeah,
you're like, hey, let's talk about Jesus.
Yeah.
The next verse is Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. So everybody, almost everyone in the world is just going down the easy path, and we are the select few who have found this very narrow road that leads to life. Everybody else is walking towards destruction. We are on the road that leads to life. But also, you have to be really, really careful, right? That you don't accidentally end up on that wide road, because it's very easy to stumble on it. It's really big. And the small path, that one is not so easy to find. So you're constantly like watching yourself. Am I still walking on that narrow road?
I always thought when I read this, well, if the road is so narrow and only a few find it, why do we even try?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's to say that coincidentally I have stumbled upon the right path? I always thought of like, why do I even try if it's so hard and if it's only so few people that are able to find it?
There really is just one way. Again, like the verse before, there's just one way. Everything else is bad. And yes, you could get into a mode of wanting to give up and being like, gosh, this is so hard, because it is so hard.
Yeah.
It is so hard to stay on that narrow road. And, it's also very blurry in a way, right? It's not very clear. Well, what is that narrow road? Your church will define for you what that means. Whatever they're saying is what you need to follow. And a lot of times that's a lot of rules, a lot of restrictions.
Yes.
And it can be very taxing on you. There's also a very strong, don't be like the world, right? Again, separation between the us and the them. I just think it's so sad, like whenever humans in general live in a worldview of separation,
right,
instead of oneness.
Yes.
Which I think Christianity really has a lot of potential also to fuel a mindset of oneness. There's also a lot of verses that could support that. But then there's verses like this, and then a lot of people choose to hold on to these kind of verses.
And also, speaking of what you just said, like there's verses for oneness and then of separation, so that's a contradiction. But I also think that this verse is a contradiction in and of itself, because if only a small portion of all of humanity are even able to find the right way, how do we even know that we found the right way? If Christianity is so popular, wouldn't that mean that they're on the wrong way?
It's true. Yeah, Christianity is such a huge religion. But I mean, evangelicals really answer that for themselves, don't they? They're like, well, yes, because only our version of Christianity is the right one. And there's not that many evangelicals as there is Christians.
True.
What I also think is really interesting with this path is that because it's talking about how narrow the right path is, a lot of Christians won't question the struggle of how hard it is to stay on this road that their church is mapping out for them. Because they're like, well, it's a narrow road. It's gotta be hard. So, I mean, the Bible even says it.
So I shouldn't complain.
Yeah, you're not gonna question the fact that it's like killing you. Because you're like, well, it was never meant to be easy.
I have burnout, but that's what God wants. Doing it all for the big J. Speaking of big J, let's look at 1 John 1 verses 5 and 6. That was such a great transition. I'm so proud of myself for this one. Okay, so it reads, God is light. In him there is no darkness at all. If we claim to have fellowship with him and yet walk in the darkness, we lie and do not live out the truth. So, again, darkness versus light here, lie versus truth. Also, anybody can use this verse to basically justify whatever they're doing and discredit others. For example, evangelical Christians do this with many things like homophobia.
Yeah, that's a big one.
If we claim to have fellowship with God but are accepting the queer community, then we are actually in the darkness. And we're not living out the truth.
And we're lying. We're not real Christians. Yeah, because there are Christians, not all of Christianity is homophobic.
Yep.
There are Christians who accept queer people.
Yeah.
But they are seen as actually walking in darkness. Like, if you were following the light, you would be as homophobic as we are.
Exactly. But I think it's just so sad because actually the Protestant church in Germany where we are, they're very accepting in a lot of areas. A lot more accepting than like evangelical churches who are much more strict with that and judge those other churches, those Protestant churches, for their openness, which is so sad. So this verse, I think it's so unspecific because what exactly is the light? what is the darkness?
Mm-hmm.
People just interpret this. So, like, for the Protestant church, obviously murder is still a bad thing, but not being gay. But then for the evangelical church, both of them are the same sin,
Mm-hmm.
because verses like this haven't clearly defined what exactly they mean with light and darkness. And so basically, you can condemn anyone for anything and justify very far-fetched things, such as burning women as witches, if we want to go very extreme, or forbid teaching evolution in class, if we don't want to be so extreme. Both can be justified with the same verse.
Mm-hmm. And two, like, different churches could throw the same verse at each other's head, telling the other church that they're doing it wrong, right? Like, one church telling the other one, but why aren't you against the queer community? How can you call yourself Christians? La la la. While then this church might tell them, well, how can you claim that you walk in the light if you're being so discriminatory towards actual people? How can you say that if you're not treating them with love? You can use this verse for literally anything that you are convinced about. And if you have something else that you are against and a Christian is doing it, you're like, you're not a real Christian. That's kind of the problem with a lot of the Bible.
Yeah, because it can be interpreted in a million different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people who wrote it are long gone. So you can't sit down and ask them, like, bro, what did you mean exactly?
Yeah. All right. Then we have two short verses that we wanted to present. So the first one is Romans 12, verse 9. Hate what is evil, cling to what is good, which is just so dramatic, which is why we just wanted to say it. It's like, oh, I have to hate the evil, cling to what is good.
You can imagine somebody going on stage and exclaiming that as a Shakespeare quote or something.
Yeah, right?
Cling to what is good, hate what is evil.
And the next one is James 4, verse 4. Friendship with the world means enmity against God, which is an insane verse. I mean, are we even surprised that so many evangelical Christians are the way they are with verses like that?
Yeah.
Because you're not supposed to be friends with anything outside of your church. Again, the word world, the world, it's just a word that can mean nothing and everything.
Yeah.
If you're friends with a non-Christian, this could already be an issue.
Yep.
Or it's like, well, if you support a certain kind of movement, then you're against God. Like, it's just anything.
And what if the world actually means like an alien world? You know, and it's not even our planet and anyone on it. You know, like, we don't know.
I mean, I'd be surprised if that's the true meaning, but who knows?
I mean, you know, Pandora could exist. I'm just saying. Sorry, I watched an Avatar edit before our call, so I'm like, oh, I want to move to Pandora. It's so beautiful. Okay. Side tangent over. Let's look at Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. So this one specifically is talking about money, but we've also seen it used in so many other contexts. So like money is exchanged with basically anything that you can love passionately, like video games, idolatry, not adultery, sorry.
Well, adultery too, you know.
I love cheating on husbands.
I love adultery passionately. Yeah, so it's anytime you really love something. We call this also idolatry, which is just anytime you put something above God.
Yeah, in my DTS, I think in week 2, they sat us all down, of course separated the guys and the girls, and were like, so, welcome to confessional. And I was like, huh? I'm not Catholic, so what's this? Basically, they made us confess whatever we wanted to, but they urged us to confess our deepest, darkest secrets in order to fulfill this verse, or to be like, this is your first step into fulfilling this verse. If you want to have your DTS be successful, you can't serve other masters. So this is how we get rid of your other masters. They were going in a circle, and I was just thinking to myself, I don't know these people. Like, it's been like a week or so. I don't even know if I like these people. Who are they for me to confess anything? And so this is a pattern. I did this with a quiet time as well. I lied. So I said, they were like, so who's your master? Or like, what's for you? And I was like, yes, so I have this video game on my phone. I think it was Candy Crush. I just said, yeah, I have this and I play a lot. And then they were like, oh, you're addicted. Okay, addiction is your master. Let's pray about it and blah, blah, blah. And in your DTS, you have a one-on-one. So a person who's like responsible for you that you meet with once a week, who's not like a therapist, but like someone who makes sure how are you doing and stuff. She would ask me periodically, so how's it going? And I was like, oh yeah, I deleted it from my phone. And then they would tell it to the others. Like, oh my God, look at Jessie. She's doing so well. I was like, thanks for not asking my permission to tell the others, but yay. And so it was like, I was really making headway with the non-existing thing that I had. Like, I did delete the game off my phone, but because I was bored of it anyways. So I was like, two birds with one stone.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so yeah. So this literally can be used for anything you can think of.
Yeah, which again, it's that thing, right? We're taking the Bible so literally, but also we will just exchange money with whatever we want.
Exactly. Video games that we're actually not addicted to.
I had a friend who took food as this, and he was fasting twice a week, every single week, so that food wouldn't be his master.
But bro, your body needs it to function.
Yeah, but you can't technically fast twice a week without it like being bad for you, I guess. I mean, he wasn't dying.
Sometimes the absurdity, once you have distance from it, just hits you and you can't do nothing but laugh. The absurdity of what you experienced and how you just went along with it without thinking about it twice. Everyone's doing it, so probably makes sense or works or whatever. And then hindsight, you're like, what? I don't see the point of it anymore.
Yeah, now it's just like, gosh, this was all making me so miserable. Why did I do this? But it seemed so right, I guess. But yeah, so we're already in the middle of our personal experiences, actually. But this was really one of the core things of our faith, was this black and white thinking. It was really the main thing that was fueling me and my faith. I also felt very honored in a way, because I was like, wow, how come God revealed himself to me? But didn't do it for so many people? Like, what makes me so special? But that also, right, you have that feeling of I'm special because I'm one of the few people who realize the truth. Like, it's a whole, like, we're really going into cultish territory here. But yeah, for me, I, for example, had a whole phase in my life where I was trying to fill my free time with only Christian hobbies or productive things. Like, either I'm doing something for university, or I'm praying, or I'm reading a Christian book. Really trying to stay away from any media. Like, I wasn't reading any books, I wasn't watching any movies. I think, still listening to normal music.
Blasphemous.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I never stopped with that. Also, a lot of times, a lot of families would restrict their kids from watching or doing a lot of things. Our parents weren't so extreme with that.
No.
There's just a few things, like there's a German show or something. I'm not even really sure what it is. It's called Bibi Blocksberg. It's this little blonde witch girl. Because she was a witch, we weren't allowed to watch that or listen to that. I know that I listened to a CD once with a friend, and I was actually pretty scared because it was spooky. It was like a Halloween episode or something. And I was like, no.
Oh, you know what's really funny? There's a side character with Bibi Blocksberg where she meets her friend Elia Eluanda. I was allowed to listen to her.
To Elia Eluanda.
Yeah, she had her own adventures and she wasn't a witch. She was just a girl in a wheelchair, so no harm done.
But there was magic.
Yeah, but she didn't say the word hex, which was the reason our mom, because Bibi Blocksberg, with every spell she goes hex, and that was the no, not in my home.
Yeah. Again, you were allowed to listen to Ilya Ilwanda, so we
Yeah.
weren't super restricted. That's also the only thing I can consciously remember we weren't allowed to listen to.
Yeah.
At the same time, we did have a lot of like Christian audiobooks.
Yeah.
And one of them was so scary. Do you remember the one I'm talking about? It was this really weird story of the children of
Yeah.
God, and I don't know.
It's called Nicht wie bei Räubers, if people listening
Yeah,
know
if
it.
anybody knows that one. Jesse and I, when we were listening to that, we would always like cling to each other and just scoot to the back of the bed. We were so scared. So scared. But hey, at least we didn't listen to Bibi Blocksberg.
Oh my god, what a safe, protected childhood. Why did we listen to it so many times? Like, I don't understand. Like, listened to it once, hated it, and we were like, let's go again.
I don't know. Like, I think I started to get a little bit like an adrenaline junkie or something with that. It just gave me a weird adrenaline rush, and after I was like regretting it, but also not regretting it, and so I just listened to it again. But yeah, gosh, what a weird, disturbing story. Also, when we lived in the US on Halloween at the elementary school there, they did this huge Halloween event with a haunted house and everything. We were allowed to dress up, but we weren't allowed to go into the haunted house.
Yeah,
Which,
it was
with
so
that
sad.
one, I'm not even sure if it was for Christian reasons or just because our parents were very protective and didn't want us to be confronted with anything too scary. I don't know. But also something I'm not that sad about, that I wasn't.
I was
in
sad because
there.
all my friends went inside and I was like waiting outside for them.
Well, I was happy because I was in the library being able to read
Nerd!
while everybody else had to be in a scary house.
Another thing I remember very vividly is my intense judgy mind. I was like a professional judge and condemn people to 5 years in jail or something, you know, because of the black and white thinking. I went through the world judging everything because it had to fit into my world, because that's how I understood the world, was in black and white.
Yeah.
There was no gray. And so everything that was put in front of me, a person, a thing, a movie, a song, whatever, but especially other people, had to be judged before I could understand or interact with them. And that was equal for Christians and non-Christians. It didn't matter who it was, but it was especially harmful to the non-Christian friends because like I didn't have that many to begin with, but also because you weren't able to just see them as who they were. People who thought differently, not possible. They have to fit into my either black color scheme or the white color scheme, you know? Like there's no exceptions to this rule.
Yeah.
And so it was very limiting. I've had feedback from friends who were like, what? You were judgmental? I was like, you don't know what was going on in my head when you told me stuff.
Yeah.
Like I went ahead and apologized to old friends. I'm like, I'm so sorry you had to experience me like this. And they were like, what are you talking about? I'm like, what? Because in my head,
because we're still people pleasers.
Yeah. But in my head, it was so bad that in hindsight, I thought I let it out more than I did. Thank God, because I could have traumatized people with this, of course, you know, like going up to people telling them, hey, this is what's wrong with you is not cool. So I'm glad that I didn't do that. But in my head, I was doing it to everything and everyone. Like, I couldn't even enjoy movies. And I love movies. You know, I'm a film girl. And I couldn't even enjoy movies because I was like, oh no, but another sex scene. She doesn't know what she's worth. I'm like, just let her have fun. It's just a story. Like, chill out, okay? But back then it had to fit into my worldview.
Yeah, I also remember judging other people a lot. And also that feeling of, I mean, now if I think about it, of how I wasn't even able to really see people because all I saw was this action they did was wrong. They don't know the truth. Everybody and everything they did was categorized. And people are so nuanced and complex, right? You will not be able to truly see people if you look at them like that.
Yeah.
But also this was paired with an intense self-judgment. I may have been harsh on other people. I was a million times harsher on myself. It was killing me. It was just so terrible the way that I talked to myself, judging every thought that went through my mind, every moment of my life, I was putting on a scale of whether what I did was good, even if it was good enough for God, I wasn't benefiting from this way of thinking.
And also, coupled with this, both of these, judging others and oneself, it was rooted in the conviction of knowing the truth and thus wanting to tell everyone.
Mm-hmm.
All caps. You literally tried making every single conversation about God every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exhausting.
Yeah.
Because you have to think about, literally, for every conversational topic you could think of, you have to find a bridge to God.
Especially for me, I think when people perceived me as positive, I was like, oh, I hope I can somehow communicate to them that the only reason I'm a likable person is because the Holy Spirit lives in me.
Yeah.
That's what makes me so great.
Yeah.
Like, it's not me.
A while ago, I was shopping, and in Germany, when you use plastic bottles, you can collect them and then give it to a machine and you get 25 cents per bottle back. You get a paper with a coupon on it and it gets deducted from your shopping. And so I forgot to use it, and then I was like, ugh, I don't want to have to keep it in my wallet, I'll forget it. So I was like, to the lady after me, I was like, hey, can I give this to you? And it was like €5. It was a lot. And she was like, no, I can't take it. And the cashier was like, I can give it to you, like, on cash. I'm like, no, I'd like to give this to you. And then she took it. She was like, oh my God, you just made my day. And I left the store, and it was such a weird feeling not having brought this conversation to God. Because I just did something nice because I wanted to, not because I had to or the Holy Spirit led me to. No, I wanted to do something nice for this lady. And she came up to me in the parking lot. She was like, thank you so much. You just made my day. I hope you have the greatest day. Thank you. And that was it. It was just a kind, happy interaction, no pressure and everything. And I physically felt weird because this was like the first time in my life that I did something nice without wanting the person to like me or wanting the person to like Jesus now. Kindness for kindness' sake. Such a different way of living. It was such a surreal experience. I'm still processing it.
Yeah. Also, the other day I was helping a woman out. I remember that even in that moment, I felt that inner impulse. Oh, wait, there's something I need to bring up now, right? What was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Jesus. I need to talk about Jesus now. And then I was like, oh, no, I don't. How
No, you
nice.
don't. No, you don't.
I can just relax
Yeah.
and go where I need to go now.
What a life, right? What a
Yeah.
life.
Also, in terms of judging other Christians, our uncle, he is Christian, really not your typical Christian, but he reads the Bible a lot and he will get like his own revelations, I guess, about things. And I remember when I was very fundamentalist and I loved talking to him. I'm really vibing with him a lot. But we would talk for hours and hours, and he would always say things like, I think that the God of the Muslims, for example, that's the same God as ours. Like all religions are kind of a revelation of the truth and in themselves and things like that. He didn't have any urgency to go to a church, or he didn't have any urgency to evangelize, and he's just very open-minded. And for me, I was just like, oh my gosh, everything he's believing is so wrong. I didn't think he's not a real Christian, or like, how can he call himself a Christian? But for me, he was also somebody who had to be convinced of the truth. It was so difficult to deal with Christians that were open-minded. Oh my gosh, that's the worst. It was always like, the only truth is our version.
There are many teachings and sermons about this topic that really reiterate it's us versus them, black and white thinking, and you have to train yourself in the thinking so that you stay on track, and that they would give you Bible verses to support it and tips and tricks on how to work on it with the Holy Spirit and everything. This is really a big topic in a lot of evangelical churches.
They want to keep you in their church system, so they know that if you get too close to the world, they might risk losing you. I remember also this sermon really, really stayed with me, where they were kind of playing something on stage where they were like, okay, we need two people to come forward right now, and one person was standing in the middle of a platform and somebody tried to push them off and they weren't succeeding. And then the person was standing on the edge of the platform and they were easily pushed off. And they were like, see, don't even get to the edge of that narrow road. You really have to stay with us.
It's also so much fear-mongering, and I was scared. I was scared to question because I was like, oh no, if I question, I could fall off the edge.
Yeah.
So moving on from our personal experiences, how we thought, we also want to mention things that we've seen in others.
A lot of Christian families will put more restrictions on their children than our parents did. So a huge thing for people was Harry Potter. There's so many people who grew up Christian who never were in contact with Harry Potter and don't know the story because Harry Potter is witchcraft, right? And what was actually cool with our mom was that she also heard that Harry Potter was terrible, and then she decided, I will read it because I know my kids will be in contact with it. So I kind of want to know, how bad is it? How much do I need to protect my kids? And she started reading. She was like, oh, what is their problem? I don't see what's wrong with it. And so she actually also let us read it later. When we were in the US, in the church there, everybody was also talking about how terrible Harry Potter is and how nobody, you shouldn't read it. And our mom was just like, sitting there like, I have read those books. Oops. You know. But it's so random also, you know, they will just pick out something to other yourself. If something's really popular and you're the group that isn't reading it, then that also gives you a special status. Again, cult thinking, where whenever you start to really create those strong us versus them lines, you're really getting into a cultish territory.
Yeah.
But there were also wild stories going around about Harry Potter. I remember a friend talking to me about how a woman who claimed that she used to be in the Satanic Church, she said that a lot of the Harry Potter spells are apparently in the Satanic Bible. I haven't read the Satanic Bible, okay, but from what I know about it, there's no spells in there. It's a philosophy.
Isn't it also like just made up Latin words?
Yeah.
That J.K. Rowling came up with. Like, they have no meaning. Or like ridiculous literally is just ridiculous, spelled differently.
Yeah,
so.
It's literally Latin.
How dare I have studied it in school?
Yeah.
The language of witchcraft was taught to us. Yeah, I also had a friend, because I told you guys that I really fell in love with Korea a couple years ago, and of course one of the leading reasons was K-pop. So I listened to a lot of K-pop, mainly 방탄소년단, BTS. I had this friend come up to me. I was listening to it and they came into my room. I was like, oh, this nice music. What is it? And I was like, yeah, this BTS, blah, blah. And then they were like, so is it Christian? I was like, it's in Korean. This was very in the beginning. Like I knew 안녕하세요, which means hello. And that was it. I was like, I don't know what they're singing about. And then they were like, well, you should make sure that the lyrics are good because it's dangerous. And then they asked me, so can you find Christian K-pop for me? I tried to, but there wasn't much. Korean artists just live their life and their faith. They keep most of it private. So I was like, I don't know if they're Christian or not. In K-pop culture, you call the artists idols, right? It's just the name. It's not that they're actually people pray to them. It's just, you know what it's called. And I made the mistake, like that word slipped out. And they freaked out on me. They were like, what did you just call them? I'm like, and then I tried to justify it. They were like, oh no, this is so dangerous. This is like with Moses and the calf. You have to stop. If you want to listen to it, you have to pray for them before you listen to them. Like,
that's gonna make it safe to listen to.
Exactly.
If you pray before you listen.
You have to pray before you listen.
I love it.
So God will use it for his glory, and I can proudly tell you that I'm still listening to K-pop and that did not faze me.
Well, you're no longer in the church. Whose fault do you think that is?
Oh no, it's
all those
BTS's
idols.
fault.
You should have listened to him. Yeah, also a huge thing was yoga. The first time I heard about that was in sermons. Like there was a whole sermon series about that I listened to online.
Wow.
About how dangerous yoga is. Because this is based on a religion that does not serve Jesus. I mean, yes, in those religions, yoga does have a spiritual purpose. And so they were like, you will accidentally fulfill this spiritual purpose by stretching into a tree pose.
When my friend started doing it, and she was new to the faith, and then she told me like, hey, I got into yoga, and I was like, oh, but that's dangerous. And it was so funny because she didn't care. She was like, well, but it helps my posture. I'm like, but it's, she's like, girl, I'm literally just stretching. And then I prayed for her to stop yoga, and then she joined a class.
Dang.
So my prayers didn't work.
The Lord didn't intervene. Yeah, I remember there were really stories about people who did yoga and then they got nightmares and, stuff like that.
I think that nightmares, they came from the fear probably more than from the yoga.
I think so too. I think if you're gonna start doing something and you're already like, I don't know if this is good, you're gonna create your own nightmares.
Yeah.
And what I find super interesting to that point, I remember, so I loved Harry Potter as a teenager. I rewatched the movies with my parents when I was a Christian, and I was having nightmares.
Aw.
So I had to stop watching after the fourth movie because I was having nightmares from watching Harry Potter. Why? Because, well, back then I thought, well, now I finally have the sensitivity to realize that in fact it is darkness.
They were right.
Honestly, I mean, I was just scared. I was scared that there is something evil in there, and that fear came into my dreams and I was having nightmares. After all of that, if I'm interacting with Harry Potter again, I don't feel anything negative. You can really create the negative effects for yourself. You think that something is evil. If you even touch it, then you will start to have negative effects happening in your life just because you believe it, because you're creating that for yourself.
I remembered something from a movie that I watched where somebody asked like, hey, do you believe in curses? I think they had to open an amulet and they were afraid that it was cursed or something. And then the person, like those wise old ladies, said, I think a curse is only as strong as you believe it to be.
Nice.
I love that sentence because it's like, yeah, that evil thing will only affect you as much as you let it. And if you don't believe it, that something bad will happen to you if you do something, then it can't harm you.
So also the struggle to connect with non-Christians wasn't just for you and me, it was really for everybody. I remember people telling that to each other all the time, how much they struggle to connect with non-Christians.
Actually, we only realized how unloving the black and white thinking can be once we stepped away from it and were then confronted with people from our past who were still following it. There were these few people who I hadn't spoken to in 3 years when I started posting LGBT friendly things on my social media who out of the blue either called me or texted me or made voice memos for me, and mind you, I hadn't spoken to them in like 3 years, who were just like, hey girl, how you doing? So I saw that you were posting these LGBT friendly things on your social media. I just wanted you to know what I think of that. And I was like, huh? They were judging me for it, telling me how sinful it was, yada yada yada. We don't have to go into detail, but it wasn't just one person, it was a few people. That's my first time I was like on the receiving end of that mindset of, hey, oh no, somebody's falling off the edge, I have to save them and tell them what they're doing or thinking is wrong. And I realized just how uncomfortable that is for the person on the receiving end and how much it can stress you out as the person who's receiving it, because you're like, so they're trying to be loving, but it's actually very hurtful.
And it also feels disrespectful, actually.
So disrespectful. Like the audacity, I think that, for me, that I used to have, to think like I have the right to tell you what to post on social media and how to present yourself and what views you're supposed to have on this and this topic. I had someone tell me after a long discussion about why homophobia is not a sin. They told me, hey, so I can't believe that you of all people lost your way. You were always so one with God, and now look at you.
I mean, after all the lies you told about your spirituality, they thought you were so one with God.
You're such a great believer. Like, oh no, it was another lie to fit in. No, No, but they were like, so I'll be praying for you that you'll find your way back to God and that He will have mercy with you.
It's so condescending.
And I was like, please don't pray for me. I'm fine. Don't pray for me. And I'm like, I think like it's so arrogant that I'll pray for you. I'm like, you have to ask for consent.
Yeah.
Because even though if you mean well, it's so condescending. You really have to differentiate between, is this person open to receiving prayer or not? And if they don't want you to pray for them, you should respect that.
And there's so much respect in the question, can I pray for you? And there's so little respect in the sentence, oh, I'll pray for you.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, you need prayer.
I mean, listen, there's contexts. Obviously, there's a lot of contexts where that is also kind. But in this specific context, when it's like, I just had a discussion with you. You don't have the same opinion as me, so I'll pray for you. Come on.
To get my opinion, which is the only right one. I'm like, that's not what discussions do. And it was really sad because I was like, in the end, can we agree to disagree? And they were like, no. I was like, okay, I'll never want to see you again. No, it was really bad, but it was eye-opening. Because I realized really how harmful it wasn't only to me, but to other people, but also how much more harm I could have done if I hadn't been such a people pleaser.
True.
But thank God we were people pleasers, Jennifer.
Yeah, we were never brave enough to be that arrogant towards people.
To be as outspoken and to be as critical openly towards other people and their direct behavior. The worst experience I had with a person that I also hadn't spoken to in years. And then we like rekindled our friendship and decided, hey, let's have a phone call. And we had like 6.5 hour phone call where we did like a life catch up and stuff. And I told them about this process that I had started to deconstruct and unlearn the things that weren't good for me and didn't serve me anymore. And they listened and they listened. And I also got into the queer topic of how my opinion changed and stuff. And after I had held like a monologue for 10 minutes, they were like, so basically like, are you done? I was like, yeah. And then they were like, so I'll have to be Miley Cyrus now. I will have to sit myself on a wrecking ball and tear down your house. I was like, huh? Can you speak in normal terms, please? What are you even trying to tell me? And they were like, so yeah, no, basically I have to unroot that belief system you have now built for yourself is completely toxic and wrong. And I have to tell you now how you're supposed to build your house.
Damn.
And also when I told them, but I'm fine with my house and I'm fine with not knowing if what I believe is the truth, they were like, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? They asked me that 3 times. And then they said, I don't believe you because that can't be true. Because they couldn't fathom in their worldview that somebody really could be okay with not knowing the truth. Because in this mindset, you're so sure of the truth and there is nothing else. Everything has to fit that worldview. And when something is outside of that, panic and wrecking balls and Miley Cyrus is flying around.
She's like, I don't have anything to do with this.
Wrecking ball!
It's the ultimate gaslighting, which you experience there. You're like, I'm happy. He's like, are you sure?
You're not.
Are you though?
You're not happy.
I don't think you are.
Yeah.
What? It's so unloving for a religion where we're always talking about treating people with love. Yeah. And then this kind of stuff happens.
And I'm like, we haven't spoken with each other for years. But you're so sure of my unhappiness? That's crazy to think.
Yeah, but it's fueled by this belief of there is only one truth, there is only one way, you're not on it, so you must be unhappy. That's what I'm taught. There's no way that what you're saying can be true. I think you just don't know how unhappy you really are. I also had most of my friends were cool when I left the church, but also because a lot of them were moving away from being so extreme. But I had one friend who, to my knowledge, he's still just as fundamentalist as ever. And when I started moving away from the church, and we were really good friends, we were talking on the phone, I don't know, like every few months, I could see such a shift in the way he started treating me. And I really stopped feeling comfortable around him. Wow. I felt so judged. Like, for example, when I moved in with my now husband, but back then we weren't even engaged. And we moved in together, which for evangelical Christians, that is shocking. That is like so sinful. He was like, well, I really hope you're at least going to marry him. And it was the last conversation we ever had after that. I was like, I'm not having phone calls with him anymore. But he ended that conversation. Instead of saying goodbye, he said, "Stay clean." Yeah.
Okay, I will do my laundry, sir.
I was like,
What?
okay, you too. I mean, in German, to say stay clean is not like don't take drugs. It's just a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
We don't say that, but it was really like don't get dirty. Like
Ew.
that's kind of what he was indicating with that. What is up with this judgmental way of speaking to me?
Who are you?
We've only texted a little bit since then, and then he also stopped texting me, which I find very, very interesting because I mean, I think I had good reason with the way he was treating me, but I'm like, what's his reason? Is it really just because I'm no longer following the same belief? It does have something eye-opening about it. You're just like, that's what we were like. And we thought we were so loving. And we weren't. We weren't loving to ourselves, and we weren't loving to anybody else.
Nope.
Where I see this all the time is on social media. When somebody will post something that Christians don't agree with, the comments can be so hateful, like really on the verge of like, I hope, your children die.
What?
Yeah, where I'm just like, huh? They will call people names or be like, oh, I hope you burn in hell. Or it's like, well, you're laughing now, but one day you will stand in front of the throne of God. You won't be laughing anymore. And I'm like, are you wishing that on people? Are you honestly wishing on them the wrath of God? How loving. Like, I heard this sentence, there is no hate like Christian love.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
there's some truth to that.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're on the other side of it all and we no longer believe as they do, we get to experience that.
Like Jenny said, now that we're on the other side of it all, we went from thinking like this to now realizing that 50 Shades of Grey is real. There's not just black and white, there's like so many hues. And it's not just black and white, there's the rainbow, there's so many colors, and people are complex.
How did we even get out of that way of thinking? I think it was really a step-by-step thing. It wasn't one day waking up and being like, okay, now I think in nuances. It was really a process of realizing that so much of what we believed was not true, maybe even a little ridiculous at times. Therefore, being like, okay, this whole thing of like, this is the truth. I know the truth. We can't just do that again with something else.
Yeah.
I mean, who would we be if we were like, okay, well, we realized that something that we completely believed was nonsense, and now we're just going to take something else and hold that up as the truth? No, we can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So now let's stay in the gray area.
Yeah.
And so to sum up why black and white thinking is toxic, why it's problematic, to start off with the arrogance and the pride that you will have. Like, it is unavoidable. If you think, I know the truth, they don't, that is inherently arrogant. You can't be humble and at the same time think, no, but I got it. It just doesn't work. Because you will think everybody else is wrong, only we know the truth. And so you will also not even listen to other people. You will just want to teach, but you will become deaf to any other opinions, any other perspectives.
Your thoughts and your worldview are so limited, but at the same time, you think you're the know-it-all, but at the same time, just being disrespectful. Like I told you guys a bit the story of the people that texted me out of the blue. The audacity that you have to think you have the right and the obligation to do like an intervention with somebody who you think has lost their way. Who are you? You're also just human.
And another point, like going away from the pride, almost something that will happen at the same time, you will be in so much self-judgment and guilt trip yourself and constantly just feel bad about yourself.
And there's no surprise that so many people that we know definitely suffered from burnout or even depression because of this. Another aspect that I think us versus them, good versus bad, can go into a cultish kind of way. We're not calling it a cult because you're still free to leave on your own volition and stuff, and you're not being like persecuted if you leave or threatened. But as soon as you have this us versus them and this one truth, there is a danger of it becoming cultish. And especially because it's not you yourself who defines good and bad or right and wrong. It's the church that is the one who decides what the truth is and how to interpret the Bible. And it's the church that claims that they are the only ones who know. And everyone else is wrong. Like Jenny said, as soon as there's separation, and when people think in separation, it makes things difficult.
Yeah.
And we would have such a great potential of living in unity, but we choose to think in the separated thinking, but that's sad.
It is so sad.
It's so sad. Like, I'm truly distraught now.
Let's cry.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. God. Now we've cried, we can continue.
With why nuance is better for us, I can just say that since I'm no longer a black and white thinker, my relationships with people have become so much better.
Yep.
And when I say people, I mean all people, because before that, I was just able to have Christian friendships. I can suddenly make friends with anybody. I don't have to try to find Christian friends anymore. I can just connect with people, and it's so nice. Like I can truly actually see people for the first time and actually listen, actually connect, because I don't feel that barrier anymore between me and the other person. It's very, very interesting to me that I can connect to really anybody, no matter what they believe right now. The people I'm struggling to connect with now are the ones who are still completely convinced about their fundamentalism, but it's not, I know that it's not me creating the barrier. I can feel the barrier coming from them and their need to convince me.
Totally agree. Relationships have changed so much. Another thing that I notice, how much it has taken the pressure out of having to convince everybody. And with everybody, I don't just mean friends or family, I meant strangers on the street. Like, I would do kind things for people just to tell them about God.
What I also love so much about no longer being so scared of so many things and so many topics is that I'm actually learning so many new and interesting things now without actually needing to judge any of them. And I just feel like my entire worldview has expanded so much. I'm realizing that there were so many things I was just believing because the church told me.
Yeah, and the goal isn't to gather information to find out the truth. No, you just gather information for the information's sake. And that's fun. And so, bottom line is, we're just able to enjoy life without being scared to fall into a devil trap, quote unquote. Because no more do I have to fear when I watch a movie, read a book, get into a new hobby or something, that there's a secret hidden door that I'm opening and letting in an evil influence that will steer me wrong. And that is so freeing. And one of the things that I have physically felt fall off me, just the joy of entering new spaces without this burden of the fear of falling into something evil or bad. But stepping into a freedom of just experiencing life and enjoying life in all of its wonderful, wonderful different avenues.
Yeah, right? You can actually just enjoy life.
Yeah.
And it's nice.
And again, freedom. This is so freeing. And this is also why we have this podcast, because it's freeing to talk about these things as well.
Well, that is it for today's episode. Just a reminder, this podcast is not about trying to convince anyone of anything, but about sharing our experiences and maybe helping others realize they're not alone with their faith struggles.
Exactly. And so next time, we will talk about the topic of our personal experiences with YWAM, Youth with a Mission. Thank you for listening to us talk about our journeys and tuning into The Way, the Truth, and the Lies, hosted by
Jennifer
and Jessica.
Hear you next time.